Satya Dhamma Reflection on June 28, 2022. Open up all senses fully. Simultaneously with disregard, even from the disregard itself, this will show that there is no grasping for the internal and the external simultaneously. There is no overlaying of the grasping mind. Continue to open up simultaneously with disregard from the disregard itself. Don't maintain the mind. Disperse it. Open up fully. Disperse well. Simultaneously with disregard from the disregard itself. Don't maintain or compose the mind to create heaviness here. To create stickiness, maintaining or sinking. Don't do it. Open up the senses fully, simultaneously with disregard from the disregard itself well. No grasping even to the non-grasping itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself is not about grasping. Doesn't grasp the disregard itself or the non-attachment itself. It's a waste of time to not opening up, to still maintain and sink in the mind. No, it's not, even though it's also simultaneously with the opening of the senses. No, it's not even know itself to itself already as it is. However, open up fully. This is great compassion. The great compassion of the purification of the extinction and emptiness all by itself. This is not about being drowsy and maintaining in the walking, in the standing. Even significance in the disregarding is not the way. It's not the way. Disregard even from the disregard itself in the way that completely opening the senses and sense perceptions, which means that there is no possessiveness within the senses and sense perceptions. The habits of maintaining of senses and sense perceptions will be ended. There will be no domination of that. The habits of the delusive attachment and samudaya has been dominating the senses and sense perceptions. This will unlock itself. So disregard from the disregard itself continuously in the way that is opening all senses and sense perceptions, which shows that there is a renouncing within the senses and sense perceptions, renouncing from the renunciation itself. There is no burden within the senses and sense perceptions. There is no concern to seeing or not seeing in whatever ways. There is no concern with having the body or the mind anyway. Just open up senses and sense perceptions simultaneously with disregard from the disregard itself, continuously. Let's conclude through the essence of the enlightenment. Let's not patch up, adding, practicing. All of this is the samudaya that is overlaying the desire, that overlaying the practice totally. Don't be obsessed to practice the desire and delusion that overlaying the practice. The delusion to practice is the desire and the delusive attachment and the samudaya that overlaying the practice. Let's end it well. Disregard even from the disregard itself, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, not attached to even the non-attachment itself, end the samudaya simultaneously. What is there to practice? It's all about anicca and anatta, all the same in everything. What is there to be practiced? It's all anicca and anatta. The practice and the object of practice is anicca in itself. How can there be the anicca practicing the anicca? The practice itself is anatta, the object of practice is anatta. Why being obsessed to practice the anicca, the anatta, on and on? Disregard even from the disregard itself. This is not about an attempt to be attached or detached from anything. Let's make a conclusion towards ending. The conclusion means ending. The conclusion means ending. Disregard even from the disregard itself continuously. Let's make a conclusion towards ending well. This is not about an attempt to be attached or to be detached. It's not about grasping. This is not about what one thinks that it is in whatever ways, through attachment or detachment, liberation or not. Let's make a conclusion through ending well. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Not attached even to the non-attachment itself. Well with it. However, let's open up the senses and sense perceptions. Well to open them. Senses and sense perceptions don't grasp themselves. The anatta doesn't grasp itself. The anicca doesn't grasp itself as it is. Well with this. What is there to be deludedly attempt to begin or to end, to create samudaya from that? Anatta has nothing to do with attempting to begin or to end in whatever ways. It's not about that. Within the anatta, within the anicca, is not about an attempt to begin or to end. The anicca has no meaning within itself as anything. The anatta doesn't signify itself. This is only the assumed language, assumed terminologies. Even the meaning has no meaning in itself. No meaning even from the meaning itself. The meaning itself doesn't signify anything in itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Well with it. Let's give up all the project of samsara totally. All the karma of overlaying dhamma, overlaying body mind, may everything be forgiven. Ahosi, ahosi, ahosi. Disregard from the disregard itself. The disregard doesn't grasp itself. There's a lot of opinions and meanings, which is the tithi, within oneself, within others. Therefore, don't pay attention to the tithi. Disregard from the disregard itself continuously. Let's purify well to the seer, the knower. Is the problem in itself. Disregard well, disregard even from the disregard itself well to that. There is no need to be concerned with being clear or not clear with anything whatsoever. All about clarity within being clear or not clear within anything is the samudaya within itself. Knowing clearly is the suffering in itself. Always being deluded to knowing on and on. Even disregard is not itself. Disregard from the disregard itself. Even the disregard that doesn't signify itself, while being obsessed within the knowing and seeing on and on. Unconcerned with knowing or not knowing, seeing or not seeing, disregard even from the disregard itself. There is no need to let go or not let go of anything. Let's make a conclusion continuously through ending. Disregard even from the disregard itself. There is no need to let go of anything. Disregard even from the disregard itself. There is no need to attempt to disregard, to let go or not let go of anything. To do that is not ending. That's the habit of attempting to let go or not letting go. Disregard from itself, then it will not become habit of letting go or not letting go of anything. Discard or not discard anything, attach or detach from anything. The attempt to attach or detach, attempting to let go or not let go is the habit of the samudaya itself, the cause of suffering itself. Open up well, opening in a way that doesn't grasp anything, doesn't grasp the opening itself. Well, to open up in a way that doesn't grasp the opening itself. No grasping from the disregard itself. No grasping even to the non-grasping itself. To dwell with just stillness or indifference, it cannot be bypassing. It's stuck with suffering. It's still realm of existence in itself. Even the disregard is not itself. Even the emptiness doesn't signify itself. What is there to be stuck with stillness or indifference? This is the habit of the upathan. Even the emptiness doesn't signify itself. Even the anicca is not itself. What is there to be stuck in the stillness? This is the habit of the delusive attachment. Disregard from the disregard itself, not attached to even the non-attachment itself. Don't give significance to the disregard. Don't maintain it. Don't be stuck with it. Disregard from the disregard itself. Just like the disregard doesn't grasp itself, don't sink in the disregard. Don't maintain within it. This is the karmic habits of the delusive attachment. The disregard doesn't grasp itself. Long Po asked a monk from Vietnam, "Are you stopping?" Disregard even from the disregard itself. Well with this. This is not about letting go or not letting go of anything. It's not about trying to let go or not let go of anything. Huh? It's not like that. Disregard even from the disregard itself. It's like instantaneous ending. Ending all about letting go or not letting go right away. Don't disregard anything. Don't try to disregard from anything. That is not yet ending. There is still the attempt to disregard. Disregard from the disregard itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Then it will be ending. In the same way, don't try to cut anything. Cut through the cutting itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself is actually the cutting within the cutting itself. End of the path, end of the result. If it's still the path or the result, it's not yet ending, still being something. Nibbana is not even Nibbana itself. Even the emptiness doesn't signify itself. With this, it will end all searching, all attempting to reach, to liberate. It will end all the delusion to put down or to let go. End all the delusion to practice. There is only just the form up to bless. Continue to make a conclusion towards ending disregard from the disregard itself continuously. This will help samsara automatically, helping the surrounding automatically. Form up the conclusion towards ending. Conclude the conclusion itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. This will purify the grasping mind. Deludedly grasping towards that which is not about grasping. This gonna proceed on insanely. Let's conclude through the Dharma. Don't persist with the belief value according to one's own desire, one's own wanting, or whatever. That's all about the causes of suffering. Desire, wanting, wishes. It is the samudaya. It's the cause of suffering. Even wanting to liberate is the samudaya in itself. We cannot use the desire here. Just disregard only. Disregard even from the disregard itself only. Don't use the desire towards the liberation. That's not possible. The desire itself is the suffering in itself. Don't use the desire with the liberation of suffering at all. The desire itself is the suffering in itself. Just disregard even from the disregard itself. All the same simultaneously with everything. Continue to make a conclusion towards ending disregard from the disregard itself. Don't be carried away with walking. Therefore, it creates laziness in making a conclusion. This is the habit of samsara. Being carried away, enjoying, giving significance and meanings and involvement. It is the habit of samsara. This is not about senses or sense perceptions. No is not even no itself. Let's not be obsessed to be fixated with anything. It's not about anything. No is not even no itself. The attempt to dwell is all about the samudaya, totally. The attempt to dwell within eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind, within knowing, seeing, inside and outside. This is the attempt to dwell. It's all about samsara. Disregard from the disregard itself. Let's make a conclusion through nirodha and nibbana. Ending all through nirodha and nibbana. Don't be careless. Otherwise, if you die, you're gonna be circling in the same way. There's no difference within being humans or non-humans. Let's make a conclusion well through the ending itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. No is not no itself. Well with this, so that it will give deliberate cut through for all and everything. Nothing is within the senses and sense perceptions. Nothing is within anything. No is not even no itself. Well with it. There's a lot of the habits of deludedly dwelling within body, mind, within states of mind, state of Dhamma. The dwelling, attempting to dwell within the aggregates, body and mind, is the characteristics of samsara. Continue with disregard, even from the disregard itself. No is not no itself. It will purify the samudaya of the delusion to be fixated and to hold on. It is the samsara. Don't trust the looking and the knowing or the acknowledgement of oneself. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, make a conclusion to end the delusion within knowing. No is not know itself continuously. This will purify the delusion within knowing and seeing. It will be automatic purification. Let's make a conclusion well towards ending. The disregard doesn't signify itself. The emptiness doesn't signify itself. Don't be literally empty out or not empty out of anything. Don't look only up above. It's all around, purify all around. Disregard, even from the disregard itself simultaneously. Cutting deluded knowing and the blessing is simultaneous. Proceed on simultaneously. Cutting and helping through cutting, ending and helping through ending is simultaneous. Disregard, even from the disregard itself simultaneously. Ending and help through ending. The enlightenment and the blessing is simultaneous. This will not waste the time with steps before or after. Not before nor after. No steps, so that there will be not too many steps there here. Don't signify the disregard itself. Don't be stuck with just knowing or seeing. When your eyes are not well, it's because you are stuck within knowing or seeing. Proceed onwards at all times, disregard from the disregard itself. Continue with disregard from itself. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. Don't be stuck with the disregard. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. The disregard doesn't grasp itself. Don't be obsessed to use the knower and the seer. There is clashing here. To use the mind, there is only clashes. Use that which has nothing to do with the non-attachment. It will be the purification of the extinction and the emptiness. To use knowing and seeing and the mind, focusing here and there is just clashing. No is not even no itself. There is no need to be considerate, to be clear or not clear with anything. There is no need to be concerned to be clear or not clear with anything. Otherwise, there is going to be just delusion within clashing through the senses and sense perceptions. We cannot be much with anything. Moderation in the usage of the senses and sense perceptions has to be founded by disregard from the disregard itself well, so that there is the purification of the extinction for the seeing and knowing, not only just clashing. To aim towards using the minds, there is always clashes. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. This will purify through the extinction simultaneously for the internal and the external. Disregard, even from the disregard itself well. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. This will decrease the projecting mind that creates clashes. Whether it is clashing within oneself or towards all things, this will be cut. Don't use much of the mind because there is only just clashing. Don't project the mind through knowing or seeing towards one another. This is hurting and harming, is clashing. Use disregarding. Disregard even from the disregard itself, so that it will be the purification of the extinction altogether. Don't clash, because projecting the mind through knowing and seeing, this is clashing, all the time clashing, just like animals. Purify through the extinction instead. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Let's continue to remind oneself to help through cutting for one another. Purify through the extinction for one another. Otherwise, there is just hurting and harming, projecting, uprising, crashing towards all things, crashing within oneself and all things. Being upright towards all things within oneself, this is all about clashes. Disregard even from the disregard itself. The disregard doesn't signify itself. Let's continue onwards in such a way so that it will purify the hurting and the harming and clashes. Let's enter the essence, not just stuck with the surface, within knowing and seeing and looking, body or mind. This is the surface, the rotten surface, not yet entering the essence. The essence is cutting the knowing. Essence of cutting, disregard even from the disregard itself. Seeing without disregarding, that's not cutting, it's on the surface. Knowing without disregarding, there is just knowing and seeing on the surface of anicca, dukkha and anatta. Without disregarding, that's not entering the essence of cutting, the core. That's not yet bypassing the surface. It doesn't discard itself, being stuck with the surface. Knowing without disregarding, this is the obsession with knowing within knowing, being stuck with the surface of the anicca. Disregard even from the disregard itself, so that it will be the heart. Apart from being the essence, is also entering into the heart, the true core, not attached even to the non-attachment itself, disregard even from the disregard itself. Let's proceed on simultaneously through the heart of the essence. The enlightenment and the blessing is simultaneous, helping through ending, and simultaneously. Disregard from the disregard itself, continuously. This will be aligned with the essence of the enlightenment of the Buddhas. Not attached even to the non-attachment itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself is the same thing. This will help ending for samsara, helping through ending for samsara continuously. Let's not be stuck with just the surface, with just the body, the mind, knowing, seeing, looking, thinking, recalling, emotions and feelings. This is the rotten surface. The surface of anicca, dukkha and anatta doesn't grasp anything, cannot grasp anything from it. It's not useful within itself. There is only pitfalls. The knower and the seer creates pitfalls in itself. All the projecting and the uprising creates pitfalls in itself. Let's enter the essence of cutting deluded knowing instantly. Disregard even from the disregard itself at any times. That's immediately the essence of the enlightenment, of cutting deluded knowing. Go ahead, disregard even from the disregard itself. At any times, that's the essence, is not the surface. To be stuck with just knowing and seeing, not proceeding simultaneously with the essence of cutting. the senses and sense perception become just with the surface, superficial. Disregard from the disregard itself simultaneously. Don't be obsessed with being on the surface, being obsessed with meanings and significance and involvements. This is the obsession with the surface. It becomes pitfalls and suffering. The knower itself is the suffering in itself, is the pitfall in itself. There is no cutting in itself. Even mindfulness, without cutting itself, is also a pitfall. There is no true happiness. The suffering is little bit. That's why it's misleading as thinking that is happiness. This is wrong view. Anicca, dukkha, anatta is not anicca, sukkha, anatta. There is no such thing as happiness. This is a wrong view, misleading. Subtleties within the suffering. That's why one thinks that is happiness is anicca, dukkha, anatta. There is no such thing as sukkha or happiness. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, then it will have nothing to do with anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Uninvolved, even within the uninvolved itself, then it will be truly uninvolved. What is there within anicca, dukkha, and anatta? Uninvolved, even within the uninvolved itself. Well, let's enter the essence. Don't be stuck with just the surface. Within the body and the mind, on and on. Within form and formlessness, the more you are fixated, the more you are distorted, being obsessed to give meaning and significance and involvement. Desire, delusion, and delusive attachment is right there. To be fixated within oneself is the desire, delusion, and delusive attachment within oneself and within all things. The more one is fixated, the more it is distorted, that which has nothing to do with being aligned or not. Disregard from the disregard itself. Well with it. Cut through the cutting itself. This is not about cutting anything. Disregard even from the disregard itself. This is cutting within the cutting itself. It's not about cutting something, because that is the samudaya in itself, is the samudaya and samsara in itself. Disregard from the disregard itself, child. Don't disregard something. No, it's not no itself. Don't be obsessed to reject anything. Let's form up the conclusion continuously. Let's not be thinking in the mind. This is realm of existence. Using mindfulness and contemplation, insight, wisdom, emotions are made realm of existence. Sound, smell, taste, touches, and shapes, senses and sense perceptions is grasped to create realm of existence. Deludedly grasping towards that which is not about grasping. Even the disregard doesn't signify itself, child. Even the emptiness doesn't signify itself. Why being deluded to grasp it? No, it's not no itself. So that you will not be deluded to know with anything, to yes with anything. No, it's not no itself right away, so that you will be able to end. Don't use titi as yes or no. Purify the titi itself. No is not no itself. The titi purifies itself. Proceed simultaneously with the essence, without steps. Not about internal or external. This is not about having steps of the extinction. This is jumping in and out. Let it be simultaneous. Disregard even from the disregard itself, without choosing sides, inside or outside. Purify throughout simultaneously. without choosing sides internally or externally. The disregard doesn't choose itself. Therefore, there are no steps, not before nor after child. When there are steps, because there are delusions, still being deluded. Let's proceed simultaneously with the essence, not just stuck with the surface of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, knowing or seeing. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, simultaneously. Let's remind oneself with this, the reminder of cutting. These people, they work with making silk. So Luang Por said you must do water blessing for all the worms as well. The silkworms, you bless the silkworms, water blessing. Once you think of giving and offer anything to temples, that's it. Whatever is going to be shared and transformed into, no doubt about it, no doubt about after your donation. It will transform into something that is useful for all people here. And bless, water blessing, sharing your perfection, merit, great blessed fortune for all groups of beings. May all life and souls who are related to every single thread of the silk be shared all the great blessed fortune, all the brightness. So there's a offering of the silk cloth. อันนี้จะกลับเวียดนามเหรอรักษาแขนดีๆนะลูกอย่าเล่นอะไรจริงจังเกินไปนะลูกนะเล่นน้ำบ่อยๆเล่นน้ำด้วย Also, Luang Por tell the Vietnamese to do also often the water blessing. Right now, Luang Por will pour the water as blessing.